evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Bench. I am one half of the team, Rocco Granado from InLacrosseWeTrust.com, and with me, as usual, from Toronto, Canada, from LaxPhilly.com, is another Gary Group. Gary, how you doing tonight?
Rocco, I'm doing well. I do want to start the show off by giving my heartfelt condolences to everybody in Humboldt.
Yes.
And all over the province of Saskatchewan. As you know, I was out there this weekend, and I happened to be out there during all of this. And if there is a heartwarming moment, it's about the entire province, the entire country, and probably the entire world coming together. Everybody who I know can relate to riding the bus.
Yes.
It's a form of camaraderie. It's more important than who got 3 goals, 2 assists, or who had a penalty. This is the bonding of teams. And it's tragic. Absolutely heart-wrenchingly tragic what's going on. And all I want to say is for most of the people that I know out here, today was Jersey Day out in Toronto.
Yep.
There'll be another one probably tomorrow night. The roadies were all wearing green, our St. Patrick's Day ones, in respect. So I'm assuming that the Rock will have their moment of silence tomorrow night. So I just want to put my heartfelt condolences to everyone.
I want to pass that on as well, and that's why I selected the song that I did, Fly to the Angels, because that's exactly what they're doing right now. Everybody thinks, oh, well, it happened all the way up in Saskatchewan. It's felt down here, too, in the States. It really is, because like you said, Gary, riding on the buses, whether you're with a team or whether you're with a fan club, it's a family. It's camaraderie. You're going to have fun. Do what you want. And for something like this to happen, it's just really tragic. And then just the other day, the trainer, one of the trainers, 25-year-old woman, passed away as well. So that makes the unfortunate toll of 16 young lives that have now gone. And I'm going to go through the names real quick. From the article that was put up on here. You had Adam Harold. He was 16, youngest player on the team. He would have turned 17 last weekend, and he was just called up to the Broncos for the playoffs. Connor Lucan, 21, Slave Lake, Alberta. Evan Thomas, 18, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Jacob Lyke, 19, Humboldt, Saskatchewan. Jackson Joseph, 20, Edmonton, Alberta. He is the son of the former NHLer Chris Joseph. This one person here that I'm going to mention, Logan Boulay, 21, from Lethbridge, Alberta. He signed his organ donor card, the day he turned 21. He was kept on life support. His organs that were donated have now saved 6 lives. So, if there is one bright side to it, I guess that is, he will go on living in other people. For being an organ donor. Logan Hunter, 18, from St. Albert, Alberta. Logan Schatz, 20, from Allen, Saskatchewan. He was the team captain. Stephen Wack, 21, from St. Albert, Alberta. And let's see, Parker Tobin, 18, from Stony Plain, Alberta. Brody Hins, 18, Humboldt, Saskatchewan. He was a high schooler who volunteered his time as a statistician for the Broncos. Darcy Hogan, 42, head coach and general manager. Glenn Dorkson, 59, Carrot River, Saskatchewan. He was a bus driver for Charles Charter. So maybe some of the people that I saw, some of the Rush fans put up, that he may have been a driver at one point in time for some of their bus trips.
Actually, he wasn't. I talked to Kelvin, and he had told me last weekend that he isn't one.
Oh, okay.
But the company was very, very short with answers because they were just shocked and stunned.
Yeah, it's obvious. Mark Cross from Strasbourg, Saskatchewan. He was the assistant coach of the Broncos. Tyler Bieber, 29, from Humboldt, Saskatchewan. He was the play-by-play announcer for the Broncos and for 107.5 Bolt FM. All those people have perished in this tragic accident. There have been things around the world, Gary, people leaving sticks out on the porch for them. Whether you have a hockey stick or a lacrosse stick, it has been left out. And as you said, people all around have been wearing jerseys, wearing green in support for them. And this support is going to keep on going. The Vancouver Stealth are having their yearly jersey auction. And I believe they're donating the proceeds to Humboldt as well. Some of the jerseys are getting an astronomical amount of money as well on the bids. But we always hate to start the show that way. When we have some tragic news. But just I'm just going to echo on what you said, Gary. Personally, me here, I send my deepest condolences to the people of Saskatchewan, to the Humboldt community. Even down here in the US of A, we're behind you and we're here for you. Now, it's kind of hard to try to turn this into a good part now.
Well, I realize.
It's just unbelievable when we heard about that last Friday, and I was going to ask you about that because you were in Saskatchewan last weekend.
Well, yeah, and I was with Evan Schemenauer, whose family is not far from Humboldt, so a lot of information came in very, very quickly. So as it was happening, it was just surreal.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, and
and what I liked also is Evan put out a hockey stick, but he also put out a first aid kit for Dana Bronze.
Yes.
As well, and I thought that was a very classy act.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Dana passed away just I believe it was yesterday from her injuries sustained in the accident. So hopefully the community can kind of regroup itself and pull itself together. It will take time, but they know that people are there for them. I saw on their Twitter feed, they saw all the outpouring of people leaving sticks out on the porch, and who's wearing jerseys on this day, who's wearing green, donations that are being made to the families that have lost their children. Okay, and we've always said no parent should be burying their child. No, never, ever, ever. That should never happen. And I saw what they posted up there. They put up with the hashtags, "We see you, we hear you, we love you." That came off of their Twitter feed. So your outpouring, your messages to the Humboldt community is being heard. It is not going on deaf ears. That's for sure. Now, let's try to turn this into a positive. It's our 1-year anniversary, Gary.
Well, happy anniversary.
Yes. 1 year that we have been doing the show with the title Behind the Bench. Obviously, since I've been doing a podcast for a few years, you've been, helped me out on and off. And since last January, it's been... You've always been there, but it's been 1 year for Behind the Bench. So we want to thank everybody for joining the Facebook page and things like that. And as a thank you, we have a very special guest coming on in about 15 minutes. He wears number 96.
He has been activated.
He has been, yes.
To wear 96 this week.
Yes. A big time part for Bandit Land. He will hopefully, as he said last night on his show, hopefully the coach will put him out onto the floor, and I don't see why not. But it's none other than the leader of Thriller Nation, Bill O'Brien. So he will be joining us at 9:10 in about 13 minutes from now. He's going to be on his way driving to Buffalo as they are going to face off against the Calgary Roughnecks this weekend in Calgary. And if I sound so positive as I don't see why he wouldn't be playing, Calgary has nothing to play for. Okay? They have locked up a playoff spot and the position. They're in third. They're not going to be able to get second no matter what happens. So they will be facing Colorado in Colorado the first week of the season. So this is going to be a game where, they're just going to, I guess, try not to get hurt, but they're going to want to, also win. But, you got to wonder what they're going to do if it comes down to the nitty-gritty and, if they want to try to keep people healthy as the playoffs are coming around. Buffalo, on the other hand, is sitting in a three-way tie for first place at 8-7 with Rochester and Georgia. So there's a lot for Buffalo on the line, especially in the last couple of weeks coming up. So we're going to see what happens. But Bill O'Brien will get back onto the floor. I know he's excited. That's for sure. He can't wait. And you got to see what's going to happen. So we're going to talk to him about things going on with Team USA, his workout regimen, what he goes through, and keep going. The ups and downs of being in the NLL. I mean, he just turned 30. He was released by the New England Black Wolves in the beginning of the season, and he said himself, he wasn't sure whether or not he was going to be playing in the game again. Then he gets the call from Buffalo, put on their practice squad, and we all know right now with only 9 teams, you really got to scratch and claw to make that active roster. So we'll talk to him about that, what that's like mentally and physically. So let's go through some of the games we had over the weekend, Gary. Saturday night, first game, where you were, after having lunch with Grandma Rush. Again.
But Mark Ewins as well, the head of the Saskatchewan fan club,
yep.
And a few others, select people in that group. But again, one of the heartfelt things in that game, the Saskatchewan game, in which there was no teams, was later in the game when all of the fans, just shy of 15,000, came up with that Bronco cheer. Even Dylan Ward was in on that one.
Yeah, that's.
So it was to see everybody come together was terrific. But again, we had a game to play, and it was an important game. It was a game where if Saskatchewan would win, they would clinch first place throughout first place in the West, and then home advantage throughout the playoffs.
Right.
And it came out. It was kind of a guarded start. And things opened up at 7 minutes in when Ryan Benesh scored for Colorado shorthanded. Saskatchewan wound up coming back and started taking it to Colorado and played the game that Saskatchewan is capable of playing. Evan Kirk looked fantastic in net for about 57 minutes of this game.
Yeah.
The last couple of minutes was a white knuckle time over in Saskatoon, when Colorado figured out if they started shooting low, they would start putting it in the net. And after they put 4 in a row in the fourth quarter, they were looking up going, thank goodness there's only 2 minutes left and not 5 minutes left. And the score hit 10-8. And then Chris Cobriel finished it off with an empty net goal. All around, Saskatchewan played a good game all night long. And Evan Kirk just stood on his head. Every time he needed to come up with a big save, he was there. And honestly, with the exception of the last 5 minutes of the game, I would say that a complete head above the way Colorado was playing. Now, my vote for Transition Player of the Year is hands down Joey Capito. Because even when he's not doing much, he's putting fear into the other team and the other team's fans. Just watching the ball go and go, oh, it's going to Capito. There's no two ways about it. If he doesn't win Transition Player of the Year, there's something wrong.
Yeah, he's...
But, like I say, Saskatchewan came out with the usual thing. Robert Church with 3 goals, 4 assists. Mark Matthews with a beautiful power play goal and then 6 assists to go with it. Ben McIntosh, 2 goals, 2 assists. Jeff Shatler had a goal and 3 assists. Curtis Knight with a goal and an assist. I say Chris Corbeil with an empty net goal.
Cool. Yep.
And that's all it took. Really, like I say, Ryan Burnett had a hat trick, and Brad Self, Jeremy Noel, Joey Capito, Zach Greer, and Bryce Sweeting all with a goal each. But if you took away the last few minutes of the game, it was 10-4. The game wasn't even close.
Close now, and Stephen Keogh, who torched Rochester the other week, went scoreless.
Yeah, they did a real good job defensively on him. They made him completely irrelevant to the game.
Yeah. And I mean, this was just, like you said, typical Saskatchewan play. But what was...
Cardiac kids, man. These guys are the cardiac kids. They just can't do it the easy way.
No.
Go in by 12 and be done with it. They got to let this thing come down between up to 2 goals and then finally put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, but let's talk about the newest dance team member for the Rush, Mark Matthews.
Yeah, well, it was a really it was funny watching the reaction because I had seen them do this with the Argos in the summer, but since nobody watches the Argos, I guess nobody really saw it. But yeah, as soon as the Mark Matthews dancer came out, and you hear the gasp from the crowd, especially when the moves started happening.
Yes.
Then of course, one person would notice he's on the bench, and 3 people notice he's on the bench, and everybody notices he's around the bench. And but it was a great routine, and it looked terrific, and they did a great job with it.
Yeah, if anybody gets a chance, either go to NLL.com and go there, or it might even be up on YouTube, just that itself.
Now, on a serious note, before the game started, they did a really decent tribute with the players speaking, and then they had the lighting of the sparklers and everything else going up. Apparently, NLL TV dropped the ball on this one. Apparently, they couldn't get their sound together or something together. I think you can see it on the rebroadcast, but on the original broadcast, you couldn't get it.
Right. Huh.
If anything in this game, that was the part that you wanted to see.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I had to watch the replay. I was out for part of that, so I missed the first half.
Touching your head when you know that this is the thing that's coming.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had the Calgary in-home guy tweeting out stuff that really aggravated a lot of people, thinking they were using the Humboldt Strong just to draw people so they can give them scores on their Twitter, which was nonsense. But
yeah,
that's for another time.
Yeah, another time, another place. Maybe not even to be brought up. Something that asinine, I'll say.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. But yeah, you said just under 15,000. There was 14,971, and it sounded like a whole lot more in there. The shots on goal, low count, 46-42 in favor of Saskatchewan. Loose balls were in Saskatchewan's favor also. Face-offs were just about even, 11-10 for Saskatchewan. Power play, 3 for 4 for Saskatchewan, and Colorado was 1 for 4 with a shorthanded goal. Yeah, and like I said, Evan Kirk stood on his head. Dylan Ward didn't play a bad game either. Just the offense just was not there.
Yeah, you can credit that to the defense of Saskatchewan.
Yeah, so Saskatchewan ends up moving up.
That clinched first place.
Yeah, clinched first overall. Yeah, they're
clinched second place for Colorado.
Colorado and Calgary will be in third. So right now you got Saskatchewan at 12-3, Colorado 10-6, Calgary at 6-9. And
more importantly, they have the momentum. They've won all 3 games against Colorado.
Colorado, right? So
Colorado gets by Calgary. They have that over too.
Yeah. So you're going to look at your first round matchup is going to be Calgary at Colorado. That'll be the first weekend of May. And then the winner will play Saskatchewan on a Thursday night.
Yeah, on May the 10th. There's so many things booked into SaskTel Center.
Yeah.
That they decided, talking with Bruce Urban after the game, that they decided on the Thursday night game because they figured that they can get a good crowd anyways.
Yeah. So
they have almost 1,000 season ticket holders, so I'm pretty sure they can get a good crowd.
Yeah. So that's the only game that we know of as an actual date and time where Saskatchewan will play the winner of Colorado-Calgary on Thursday, May 10th at 7:30 Eastern, which is 9:30 out in, well, not 9:30 here, 7:30 out in Saskatchewan. Now, our next game that we had, and we're waiting for Bill O'Brien to go. He should be calling in any minute, so we may stop halfway through this. Calgary at New England. This was a game, Gary, that New England needed. This was basically a playoff game for them.
Yeah.
Because if they would have lost, they would have dropped to 6-9, and they would have had to win out just to pull even at 500. Meanwhile, like I said, you have the other 3 teams that are at 8-7, so they would have basically been on life support to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's funny because for all this hoopla and that New England had to come flying out, they really didn't do much to convince me in almost the first half. Up until about 11 minutes into the first half, New England kind of looked lost. They were just going back and forth and side to side.
Right.
And Calgary was scoring.
Yeah, and
it just looked like this was actually going to be a runaway for Calgary.
And it should have been. New England's power play is terrible. It's been terrible all season. It was terrible in this game. But shorthanded, they did wonders. They had 4 shorthanded goals. And this is where Calgary lost the game. Twice in the game, they had 2 5-minute power plays, both in the third quarter. One came at 3:06 when New England was called for a headbutt. And then another one at 10:39 when LaFontaine was called for an illegal cross-check. Actually, it ended up being a 3-minute power play because Burton also got an illegal cross-check for 2 minutes. But during that time, they basically had 8 minutes, we can say, where they could have scored a maximum of 2 goals on each. And they only scored 2 goals total, while also letting up, during the first one, they let up 2 shorthanded goals on that one alone.
Yeah.
I mean, right then and there's the game.
Yeah, the Calgary team that even one that played the Rock a few weeks ago, I'm just not convinced about. They're too. Nobody can tell which kind of team is coming.
No.
And it's fine to rely on Del Bianco's quickness and his youth of being 20 years old and being very quick, but eventually the good teams are going to get to him. And New England, I don't put in that category.
No.
And they got to him in a big way. I say this game should have been a runaway for Calgary. There should have been no reason that New England was in any part of this game. But when you give up a shorthanded goal, you're looking at not winning.
Yeah.
4 shorthanded goals? Seriously. That's unheard of. So, yeah, I'm definitely not convinced about the Calgary team. The New England team, though, they did what they had to do to come back from a horrible start. And lo and behold, in overtime, wound up pulling this game out and keeping themselves in the race. So every game from now on, for any team in the East, is a playoff game.
Right.
Because if you put together a good losing streak, you're watching playoffs. Now, New England's not out of the woods yet because I don't think they have a tie break with anybody. And they're sitting at the very bottom of the division, even though that's only 1 game out, tied with Toronto. But what can we say? It's the same people scoring. Yeah.
Hey, Bill, hold on for 1 second. All right.
Yep.
All right, Gary. I'm going to interrupt you right now because on the line with us, on his way from Syracuse to Banditland to hop on a flight because he was just activated, and none other than the leader of Thriller Nation, number 96, Bill O'Brien. Bill, how you doing tonight?
Man, I love that intro, man. I'm going to have to find a way to just play that on repeat in my headphones before the game. I love it. I'm doing well. Like you said, I'm on the open road right now, heading out to Banditland. Going to meet up with the team tomorrow, and we fly out from Toronto to go out to Calgary to rough up some Roughnecks.
Yeah, I know you can't wait. You had that on your show last night with Kong and Chrome Rome. You just couldn't wait. Being activated and trying getting back in the uniform, getting on the bench, and getting some playing time. Let's talk. Let's talk about that. Beginning of the season, the Black Wolves released you, and for a while you didn't know whether or not somebody was going to pick you up or not, and you didn't know what your future held. What goes on, and what goes on in the player's head during that period of time?
It's tough. It's really tough. I mean, I'm lucky to have a great support system. My mom, my dad, my brother, obviously, Chrome Rome, like those guys, they were in my corner the whole time, just giving me encouragement, reinforcing, like, you're good enough, keep it up, keep playing, keep grinding. And I'm the type of person who always has my nose to the grindstone, so regardless, I was going to be working out, I was going to be training, I was going to be ready. But clearly that wasn't enough. So I started to look at doing other things, like working on my lacrosse IQ, playing more tournaments, picking veterans' brains, like talking to Brett Bucktooth and how I could improve my game, and even talking to some elders up here in Onondaga Nation, some great lacrosse players who had some tricks that would hopefully help. And then, I don't necessarily believe in luck. Luck is where hard work meets opportunity. So I was putting in the work, and I was hoping I'd get a call, and then sure enough, a couple weeks go by, and Buffalo Bandits call, and and that was the opportunity I needed, and I jumped on it. And the one thing that Chugger told me, that he's the GM, he was like, Bill, listen, we got a full roster where our team is pretty stacked, but if you're not afraid to join our practice squad and work and earn a spot, then we'd love to have you. And I said, hell yeah, sign me up. I'm not afraid of a little bit of work, so let's get after it. And that's what I've been doing for, I want to say, the last 8-9 weeks. And then finally, I got the call up Tuesday night in practice. And for the Bandits, we practice out in Six Nations, Ontario. So it's a 4.5, probably 4 hours, 15-minute one-way trip for me for a 2-hour practice.
Wow.
And I was making that week in, week out, just really trying to earn that spot. And, it's true when they say hard work pays off. It's just a matter of doing it and staying consistent. And it was cool talking to my dad after I got activated. I called him. He's out in Arizona right now climbing mountains and being a maniac. But I called him, and he was like, there's something to be said for your discipline. He's like, because honestly, I would have quit 8 weeks in. You're not making a good buck. You're out there getting beat up week in, week out, practicing. He's like, good on you. And that really put everything in perspective, and it really got me extra fired up, as if I needed that, Rocco.
Yeah, exactly.
Bill, it's Gary Groove here from LaxPhilly.com. How you doing?
My man, Gary, I'm doing well, man. I love you posting about your Flex Fridays, getting after it in the gym, man. I love the progress. Keep it up.
Thank you very much. It's super motivational. Hell, if I can do it in the Philippines, we can do it anywhere, right?
That's it, brother.
back into the league and has been motivational to everybody. Could you talk just about with fan interaction in yourself and what it means?
You know, I've been an athlete for my whole life. Since I was 3, I put on ice skates and I started playing ice hockey, and then from there it evolved, and I was a 3-sport athlete coming up throughout, and my dad would take us to these professional games, and we would always sit outside and wait for pro players, and oftentimes with like the NHL, guys would just kind of wave and nod. Once in a while you'd get an autograph. And I always thought, man, it would be really cool to be able to talk to one of these pros. That's what I want to do when I get older. I want to be a pro hockey player, pro football player. I want to play a pro sport. And then, fast forward 20 years, and now I'm in that position, and I hadn't forgotten that feeling. And I think the biggest thing for me is, the pro lacrosse, that's finite. There's going to come a time where I get cut, I get released, where I'm not good enough, where age wears on me. Something's going to happen, so in this, while I have it, while I'm in the moment, I might as well try to treat all those young fans, treat all those parents, even men, women, whoever's a fan of the game, treat them as I wanted to be treated when I was a fan. And really try to give them an experience that hopefully lasts a lifetime, and hopefully they can say, that Bill O'Brien, he's a jerk on the floor, but off the floor, he's actually a good guy, and he gave us his time, and he listened, and we had a good conversation, and that's memorable, and that's kind of that's what I want to do, with being a pro lacrosse player. I want to have an opportunity to give back, and even with those little interactions post games, when you're tired, when you may have lost the game, it's bigger than that. You have an opportunity to hopefully inspire the next Sean Evans or the next Dean Smith or the next Josh Beaner, a young kid who just started the game.
Yeah, me and Gary both had the pleasure of meeting you one time when Rochester was playing New England, and when you were with the Black Wolves, and sitting in the stands, I hear people going, "Oh my God, I can't believe how he plays. He's an animal." And I'm sitting there saying to myself, "The man has 2 faces." Talk to him after the game, you see a totally different person. And I'll admit, me personally, when I first met you, I was intimidated. I was like, there's no way I could interview him. He is an animal. I can't ask him what happened. How you lost the game. I said, he's going to rip my head off. But just, you're completely different. I mean, after we had the interview and we walked out into the concourse, you stayed there. You were taking pictures with some of the security guards, some of the other fans that were there, family members of the opposing team. I mean, it's just, unbelievable. And I try to get that out to other people, that the person you see on the floor is not the person off the floor.
Yeah, I mean, it's in there. It's in there.
When I was in the Philippines, I've got a whole other country following you now. They actually do have a shirt that's being made for you from that gym, the one that I posted that I showed you. So there'll be a number 96 for you from there.
That's awesome. I love it.
And I just had a jersey made, as you've seen, with your name on it with the Bandits, for my daughter who's coming over from the Philippines late September, I guess. I'm hoping. So hopefully we'll put a signature on that one when I see you at the Bandits game. But yeah, I've got another country on the other side of the world watching. So
my
relation is growing.
I love it.
Get it grow. So wait, Gary. So that is your Buffalo jersey.
That's my daughter's Buffalo jersey.
Okay.
I just literally got it.
Okay.
I had it because she right away was enamored with you and your play and everything that you were doing. Because we went through a lot of the motivational stuff, a lot of the gym stuff, and all the other things, and went through the trials and tribulations, as well as even got through a bit of your football career. So, yeah, she's well read, I should say. But
yeah, because I have a Bandit jersey hanging up that doesn't have a number on it yet.
Oh man!
Yes, so we might have to get that 96 rotating all the way through.
I love it.
Yeah, but let me ask you now. We know it's difficult with only 9 teams in the league, and you have all this other talent out there. Now that 2 more teams are coming in, how much more opportunity is there now out there for these other players that couldn't find a team this year, we'll say?
Huge. It's huge. I mean, I just remember the New England Black Wolves training camp. There were so many good players, from Dave Emila to you had Marty Bose, Nick Mariano, really good players who were maybe a little green to the game besides Marty Bose. He's been playing for years, but just couldn't crack a lineup because there's been guys who are pro for 10 years. You're not going to beat out Sean Evans in a righty spot.
No.
And there's only 5 righties that play in a game. So it's, those 2 teams, they're going to open up so much opportunity. And the word on the street is that there's 2 more following suit the year after. So
yes,
I think my career just got extended 5 years maybe.
Yeah,
so I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Well, seeing that you're a Flyers fan,
yes.
It's only about a 3.5-hour drive from Syracuse to the Wells Fargo Center.
Oh, it's close. Trust me, my dad's born and bred me a Flyers fan, and he's all over me.
Smart dad.
There's a team in Philly coming. There's a team in Philly. I'm like, Dad, I'm a bandit. Cut me some slack.
Hey, you never know. You never know.
You never know. Are you going to be a free agent, or are you still contracted to Buffalo?
I'll be a free agent after this year.
Okay. So on July 1st, every possible team out there can be ringing his phone, knocking on the door, go to the gym and work out with him.
Yep. That's a requirement. You have to get a workout in with me if you're trying to get me on your team.
And, the thing here, Gary is a Penguins fan.
Oh, Gary, I used to like you, Gary.
I had to throw that in there, Gary.
I'll give you the backstory to that quickly. Is that a friend of mine had gotten drafted to them back in 1980. He's now the head chiropractor for the Jays. So back then, when the Leafs were floundering as they were for the last 50 years or so, it was pretty easy to change teams, and we just stayed. So, but yeah, the reason why we went was because our buddy got drafted there.
I respect that. Then at least it wasn't just out of the blue you picked the pen.
Right.
I respect that.
Now, I threw this question out to you yesterday about Team USA. Expand on what's going on there. I know you said there are a couple more camps coming up, and no decisions have obviously been made yet because we're still about a year away.
Yep. So Reggie Thorpe, the head coach, he wants to leave no stone unturned. He's looking for the best team possible because it's his goal to win the gold. And I honestly believe that with the conditioning, with the time we have to come together, and with U.S. Lacrosse backing the team, there's a lot of opportunity for U.S. to turn some heads definitely, and compete with Iroquois in Canada. So, we're going to have a couple training camps over the summer, and then word on the street is that they're going to put in a developmental team into the Lax All-Stars tournament. That's right in Onondaga, so south of Syracuse, right in my backyard. In September. And then there's going to be another couple training camps. And then by January, they should have the team. And then the team will start implementing systems, start working together, getting comfortable. And then it's out to BC to compete for gold.
Well, now, the rink, which is it going to be at the new rink at the Onondaga Nation, or?
Yes, it's going to. So the Lax All-Stars tourney, it's been around for 3 years. This will be its 3rd year. And the competition is really good. I put a team in last year, and it was all NLL players. We had Dane Smith, we had Steve Priolo, Zach Reed. We had Tyson Bell. Latrell Harris. Like, we had a really good team. And we won it. We won it the past 2 years. It was the Thompson Brothers Lacrosse Elite team. And so back-to-back champs. And then this year I'm going to have to play for Team US. So hopefully Team US comes out on top. So we'll see.
Yeah, because I was there for 2015 covering the World Indoors for a few days, and when I tell people this, they kind of look at me, and I'm like, if you're not a fan of the game or understand the game, you'll never understand this. When I walked onto the reservation, when I walked on the Onondaga reservation, I felt something come over me. Okay? It was almost like a chill went through my entire body. And I talked to other people, and they felt the same thing. Is there something there that just... Yeah, I mean, yeah,
it's the birthplace of lacrosse, Rocco. Yeah. You know, the energy's there. It's been played there since the dawn of time. So what you felt that was lacrosse in its purest form, my man. And, you know, I'm grateful for the opportunity to play for the Onondaga Redhawks every summer, give back to the community, play with my brother, play with Chromo, play with all the guys from the area. So there's definitely something special about playing lacrosse in Onondaga, being a part of something like that. The World Games was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, teams from, I think, 15, 16 countries from all over the world, from Jamaica to Czech Republic to Canada. You had everyone represented, and it was something special. They put it on very well, and I mean, obviously the environment helped with Onondaga being the birthplace of lacrosse.
Yeah, I mean, it was just amazing, just being there for a few days and seeing the new arena, how quickly they got that built, and just seeing the games in the arena, experiencing the native soil where the creators' game came from, and seeing some of the people there making of the sticks and the progression of the wooden sticks and how they're made, and just everything in general. Even the I can't remember the name of it, but it was the meal that they had for all the athletes and everybody there. Everybody was just so kind. It was just mind-boggling, because you don't see that a lot anymore. You really don't.
No. Yeah, the feast they had, the opening feast.
Yes.
With the buffalo, and yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was just something to experience, and I'm looking forward to 2019 because I told you this before, that my wife told me a couple months ago that we're going to go up there for our wedding anniversary. It'll be 11 years. So, yeah, so we're going to go up. Like, I think the tournament starts on a Thursday. We're going to go up that following Tuesday, and
nice.
and be up there, and hopefully the U.S. comes back with a gold medal, because I think 3 years in a row they're a little tired of carrying the bronze home.
Not as shiny as gold. I'll tell you that much.
No, it's not. No, but yeah, I mean, it is a great tournament and everything. Now, one last thing before we let you go, because we know you're on I-90. You're cruising on down to Buffalo. Your workout regime. I mean, that is just intense.
Well, thank you.
I mean,
understatement and a half.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I'm 52. Okay, even when I was that young, it just brought me back to being tired. But I mean, it's it.
Want to go through a typical day or a typical days in the gym?
Yeah,
it'd be great.
I mean, and you're putting it out there, showing people, hey, if you want to make it in the National Lacrosse League, or you want to make it as a football player or any type of athlete, you have to put the time and effort in. And
100%.
And that's exactly what you do. You any task that is out there, no task is too tough for you. Okay, you go at it. You try to conquer it. It may take a little while, but you're going to conquer it. You don't have that say no attitude.
But you also go through all the different nuances, because you spend a certain amount of time with ball against the wall with your stick. You spend a number of minutes with the ladder thing for your foot movement, as well as all the other strength exercises that you do. So, is there a regimen day by day that you're doing for this, or is this a daily thing that's part of?
Yeah, so I have a regimen that I follow. Kind of developed it based off of what really worked for me. Because I come from a football background, so football-style training, at least when I was in college, was a lot of squats, a lot of heavy deadlifts, a lot of power movements, because as an outside linebacker, defensive end, I really only needed to move for 5 to 6 seconds. Yeah, I had to fight a 300-pound man, but it was a burst. It was a burst of energy, and then I'd have 30 seconds of rest, another short burst. So when I started playing lacrosse again, my body was acclimated to that. And I remember the first couple shifts, and I was like, man, I thought I was in shape, but my legs are burning, my lungs are burning, I better figure it out. And so that's when I started to really do a lot of research and figure out what the best approach would be for an athlete that is highly anaerobic, but needs a very high aerobic capacity. Because, yeah, box lacrosse specifically, it's a ton of running. It's a ton of sprints, but you're always moving. So you're going to burst here, you're going to burst there. But your rest period is 30, 35 seconds, and it's a very dynamic sport. It's essentially where you got basketball-style athleticism with skill work of ice hockey and collisions like football. It's my favorite sport because it's a perfect blend of all three of those things that I like. So I needed to try to develop a program where I could get all of that and maximize my time in the gym. So every day in the gym is a full-body workout for me. So, and in season, I'm focused primarily on unilateral movements. So what that means is single arm movements and single leg movements. I'm not doing heavy squats or heavy bench press or heavy deadlifts in season unless my brother challenges me to a deadlift competition. That's the only time I do it. But, so it's a full body workout every day. I have, usually I'll warm up with wall ball. Some people will ride the bike. Some people will jog. I say, hey, there's a concrete wall in my gym. I'm just going to warm up with 10, 15 minutes of wall ball, get the hand-eye coordination going, get a light sweat. And it's fairly intense. And then I go into my mobility work. So I'm using bands. I'm basically prehabbing my shoulders, my ankles, my hips. Because the style of play that I have, it's a lot of collisions, it's a lot of contact, so you want to make sure your body's ready to take that. And then my warm-up, so that mobility warm-up is about 12 to 15 minutes, and then I go into a 30-minute dynamic warm-up where it's A-skips, it's high knees, it's lateral shuffle. You've seen my speed ladder routine. Where now the heart rate's really elevated, and I'm moving through all these dynamic movements that will get the blood flowing, and then that's about an hour in. So, and usually when someone just starts with me, they're like, whoa, that was your workout? That was killer. That's my warm-up. And then, and then about an hour in is when I start getting to the weights. And then the first part of the weight is going to be plyometrics. So whether it's box jumps, single leg, explosive step-ups, med ball throws, med ball slams, rotational throws, all that depends on what my other lifts are for the day. And then after the plyometric, there's going to be a strength exercise. On Mondays and Thursdays, those are pushing exercises for the upper body, and my strength for the lower body is pulling. So, and then on Tuesdays and Fridays, we flip it. So So strength workout would be like a upside down kettlebell. It's called a bottoms up press, where my body's half off the bench. So it's really a full body movement because I'm driving through my heel, engaging my core, activating the glute, and pressing like a dumbbell press, but with a kettlebell. And then that's I do a bunch of supersets, so that's supersetted with band pulls to the face, really hit the traps in your upper back. And then usually if I'm pushing with my upper body, I'm pulling with my lower body. So then that would also be supersetted with like a single leg RDL with a kettlebell to hit my posterior chain, hit my hamstring, my glute. And then I go through another exercise segment, if you will, another tricep, where it would be like a landmine press, explosive landmine press. And then we'll do kettlebell swings and heavy kettlebell swings or heavy tire flips, and then some sort of stretch. So on that day, I would probably do a dynamic hamstring stretch, just because those are the muscles I'm using. After that, we hit the core. So whether it be planks, it could be farmer carries, suitcases, any of the various core exercises, and then energy system development, which is essentially conditioning. So I end off with conditioning. So my warm-up is pretty much gets me very tired. Then I lift weights, and then I condition. I always like to say you have to find comfort in being in uncomfort, or being discomfortable. So because at the end of the day, you're never fresh when you're need to be explosive or dynamic. You're never you're going to be tired, you're going to be fatigued. So that's why my conditioning's at the end. And then usually I'll alternate between battle ropes. I'll do battle ropes 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 18 times in a row. Or I'll do airdyne bike sprints, 20 seconds on with RPMs at 100, and then 40 seconds off. We'll do that 8 times, 6 to 8 times, depending on how I feel. Or we can do sled pushes, sled pulls. Today, for instance, I did 500 meters on the rower, under a minute 40, supersetted with sled sprints and lateral sled drags. 3 rounds of that. That was pretty killer. I mean, hopefully you guys caught all that. Essentially, it's a whole bunch of movement, a whole bunch of sweating, a whole bunch of breathing hard, and a whole bunch of discomfort. So,
but a whole lot of hard work that pays off in the end.
I'm definitely getting that.
Yeah, it's just something that really pays off. Bill, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out. I know it was like last minute. I know you were getting, the truck packed up, and like I said, heading along I-90, to meet up with the guys, to fly out. But I really want to thank you for taking the time, coming on to the show, and just going through what you go through and what some of the other players have to go through to make it in the NLL and to crack some of these lineups.
Definitely. I appreciate you guys. And hey, anything for Rocco and Gary, you guys know that. Anytime, any place, I'll make time for you boys. I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, Bill.
Thanks a lot, Bill, man. I'll see you next week in Buffalo.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Bill, thanks so much, man.
All right, so that was Bill O'Brien on with us.
And we're going
to go and pick up where we left off, I guess. We're just going to finish off here with the New England-Calgary game, which New England did wind up winning in overtime, keeping their slim playoff hopes alive until they play again. And again, every game is going to be a playoff game for New England. The last game on the slate that happened this past weekend was Toronto went to Georgia. And Toronto almost had the same scenario, that they stay relevant in this division, which is so compact that they really needed to come up with a big effort. And after the effort previous where they had zero goals from any of their offense and only 2 points from their offense, and everything came transitionally. We thought that maybe they would like to get a little bit of offense in there. Now, into the lineup for a change was Dan Lindner for Toronto. I've been screaming about that for weeks, why he's a healthy scratch, because he's the one guy who will go to the net, who will give an effort every single shift. So I was really glad to see him in there. But, right away, right off the face-off, Toronto got the ball. Sheldon Burns picked it up from the scrum, ran right down the floor, boom, 1-0 Toronto. And that was almost it for the first quarter for Toronto, because the next 4 became Georgia goals. And again, we went back into this thing. Still not a goal from the Toronto offense. With just about 40 seconds left, 42 seconds left in the first quarter, Reid Reinhold scored for Toronto, and that is the first goal for the Toronto offense in nearly 6 quarters. You're not winning many games when your offense doesn't score for 6 quarters.
No, you're not. You're not. No, if the offense is not scoring in 6 quarters, no. You're
not winning many games. It's just that simple. And sure enough, come the rest of the first half, Georgia came back with 2 more goals, and then Dan Lindner woke up, and he got the first of what was going to be a big day for him. But at the end of the first half, it was 6-3 for Georgia, and Toronto looked like they were going to go into that abyss that they've been in the last few games. Whatever was said inside the dressing room finally resonated, because we had some signs of life. The slumber was over, because the entire third quarter, Toronto was awake and alive, and they took it to the Swarm. Bodie Merrill started out with a shorthanded goal in the third quarter, followed by Adam Jones. It was nice to see an Adam Jones sighting. He's got a big shot, but if they're blocking him, he really isn't doing that much.
No,
so it was nice to see him get onto the scoreboard. And then, Mr. Lindner with 2 more. So, now, we have Toronto in the lead, 7-6 after 3. Could they hold on? That was the big question. Well, 3 minutes in, Kyle Matisse tied it up, and then we went on the back and forth merry-go-round. Lindner scored for Toronto, Lyle Thompson scored for Georgia. Lindner scored for Toronto, Lyle Thompson scored for Georgia. Lyle Thompson then took the lead, and then Brett Hickey looked like he was going to put it into overtime, scoring with just over 2 minutes to go in the game. And all of a sudden, with under a minute to go, 53 seconds to be exact, Jesse King from behind the net threw a ball in and made it into the net from behind the net. Now, the controversy that was here was, had Jordan Hall established himself outside of the crease in time? And upon review, a lengthy review at that, it was deemed that it was inconclusive. My favorite word in the English language. Yeah. Inconclusive.
I looked at it a number of times. I rewound it, did it frame by frame. It's so inconclusive, and you can't tell whether or not his foot's still touching part of the line or anything like that. My thing is this. This is one rule change that needs to be changed, okay? Where Jordan Hall was he in the crease? Even if he was in the crease right there, his being in the crease had no significance on whether or not the ball went into the net.
Yeah, but again, we're talking about the rules of the moment.
Right. Yeah, I know, but that's one thing that should be changed. Okay, he's at the top of the crease, laying there. If he's not impeding the goalie that's stopping the ball or anything like that, then it shouldn't. It really shouldn't matter. Now, not that I'm not saying for the guy, you could stand there intentionally. No, if you're knocked down and you got knocked into the crease and the play's happening and you're waiting for the ball to go in,
you need to make an effort to get out.
Right, and if you're doing that,
the goal stood.
Right,
and Toronto still had time. They had 53 seconds. They even pushed hard. They had a turnover, but as it turned out, that wasn't enough, and they wound up falling 11-10 to Georgia. Now, the Georgia team that has been walloping a lot of the teams, and 2 of the games have been 1-goal games against Toronto. Either Toronto playing really good defense against a very potent offense. Or maybe Georgia isn't as good as we're giving them credit for.
Yeah,
Something to think about, because Toronto went 18 out of 25 in faceoffs.
Yeah.
Loose balls were almost equal at 60-59 in favor of Georgia. The shots were just barely in favor of Toronto at 46-40, and both teams sucked on the power play.
Yeah.
With a short-handed goal for each team.
Each team, right? Yeah. So
really sucked on the power play.
Yeah. Is it that Georgia is that good on defense? Is Toronto that good on defense, or
The only thing that's been keeping Toronto in games is their defense.
Defense, right? And Gary, you mentioned about 6 quarters.
Again, I heard these calls from Miller. Thinking to myself, how silly is the people that I'm listening to? Like, that's not the issue here, folks.
No, it's not. The issue is you have an offense that hasn't put a ball in 6 quarters, and at the end of this game,
and still are shooting from downtown Atlanta.
Right, and
a lot of the time to try and get things in.
Right.
This no changing of any scheme is driving me absolutely up the wall.
Right, and what have I always said, Gary? If you let one guy score over 50% of your goals, you're not going to win the game. I mean, Lindner had 5 of the 10 goals. Okay, Brett Hickey 1 goal, Rob Hellier nothing, Adam Jones 1 goal. So the big 3 came up with 2 total goals. Where have they been the last God knows how many games?
Well, and it's how many games we give Dan Taylor to get comfortable.
Yeah.
1 assist.
1 assist, right. Yeah. And
so how many games? McCardle, he's supposed to be off that, in the number 3 or number 2 on the depth chart. 2 assists. It's maddening when you see this.
Yeah. Now,
on the other hand, Georgia, Lyle Thompson had 5 goals.
Right. Now, my question here is, I saw it all over social media. People were upset. Well, I thought Schreiber was going to be back in the lineup. They said he was going to be playing today. That's why we're not playing good. And is it possible that all these other guys on the team rely on Schreiber?
To this extent, I can't see it. Now, what I can say is, it does change the zone coverage. And if they double on Schreiber, then somebody else is free. Or if they don't double on him, he's usually flying through the crease because he doesn't seem to be afraid to go to the net either.
Right.
So, when you have Lindner as a healthy scratch and Schreiber on the IR, you have nobody who wants to go to the net. I give you the last number of games as a, there's evidence C.
Right. It's just amazing, though. Like, I'm not a big Rock fan, okay? I like to see good lacrosse, but when you see a team struggling, the offense part of it, 6 quarters without an offensive goal until they finally put one in, until Littner got, took that schneid.
But I go one step further. I haven't seen anything different in the offensive packages.
No.
There are no new ideas coming out of this coaching staff. Does this coaching staff remain? Is this coaching staff completely worn out? Have they been spent with all their ideas?
Yeah. And that's, and that's not the only team that has to think about that either. We kind of briefly went over the other game, the New England game. You got to wonder about that coaching staff, or at least the head coach. Has.
We talked about Glenn Clark before. Is it the Toronto Rock thing all over again from the mid 2000s?
Right.
And Warren is welcome there. So it'll be interesting, especially with new teams on the horizon. I think there's going to be an awful lot of movement.
Yeah, I think so too, and it's but
that didn't help the Rock in any shape or form, moving them in 4th in a division, and having to play Rochester tomorrow night, which is another really, really tough game. If they're not totally on their game, that's another loss.
Well, here's the thing.
More than Rochester.
Toronto has 3 games left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they have Rochester tomorrow.
The week after.
Okay, then Buffalo, and then they have Colorado
the week
at home.
After that.
Right. So they're home against Rochester, on the road in Buffalo, and then they have Colorado.
They're on the road in the Loud House for that.
Right. That's not an easy schedule. And like we said before, Colorado already has their position and everything locked up, but nobody wants to lose the final game of the regular season going into the playoffs.
Right, and neither the two East teams want to lose because things are too tight.
Right.
So, Rochester's coming full bore, and, Buffalo will be coming full bore.
And the thing here is Rochester already has won the season series over Toronto. If I had that down right, I believe they hold the tiebreaker.
Oh, no, I believe it's 1 game each.
1 game each? I'm looking at their schedule, because I had it written down, and, yeah.
No, in fact, Toronto's up 2-1.
Okay, so...
Toronto won in Toronto. Toronto also won in Rochester. That was a week I was in the Philippines.
Yeah, so Rochester needs to win this game.
Yeah, if they want to hold tiebreak, they need to win by a margin.
Let's see. Yeah, 20. Oh, wait, right. Yeah, 17-9, 12-9. So they're already up by 10 goals. No, they only played. They played each other twice so far. That's it. I don't see 3.
So Toronto's won the season series.
Series, yeah. So Rochester just needs to win this game to give them a little more space between them right now, because it's not going to be easy. You got 3 teams at 8 and 7, Toronto and New England both at 7 and 8, and Toronto's got to play Rochester and Buffalo. 2 teams that are tied for first right now. So it could come down to a 2 or 3 team tiebreak right now. So right now, every game is basically going to be a playoff game here. But yeah, you gotta wonder what's going on in Toronto. Is Schreiber going to be back this week? And if he does come back, we'll see how they're going to play. But nothing has been stated whether or not he's coming back. And guy, like I said, I just wonder, is he that meant that much to the team where the rest of the offense just isn't clicking without him in the lineup?
Well, obviously the offense isn't clicking now.
Yeah, that's an obvious. But with him not in the lineup, it seems like that they could, the other defenses can cover guys, one-on-one. They don't have to do any kind of a slide over to double team anybody. They're just playing them, man up, and that's it. Man on man. So, something is going to have to happen. But as you went through this, Georgia wins the game 11-10. It moved them into a 3-way tie for first. Rochester holding the lead, the first with tiebreakers. Rochester, Buffalo, Georgia in that order, all at 8 and 7. Toronto and New England, both at 7 and 8. Now we look at this week's games that are coming up, and we got quite a handful.
We do. We have a few of them to look at, yeah.
This weekend. April 14th, there is a Twitter game of the week, and that's going to be the Saskatchewan Rush and the Georgia Swarm. That's on Saturday. That's the Twitter game of the week. But starting tomorrow night, here's the lineup, and then we'll go ahead and we'll review the games. Tomorrow night, you got Rochester at Toronto at 7:30. Saskatchewan at Vancouver. That game is at 10:30 Eastern Time. That game really doesn't mean anything in either way, shape, or form. It's just a matter of, Vancouver knows they're going to get the number 1 pick. Saskatchewan has home field throughout. New England is in Colorado on Saturday night. That's another game that New England should win because the game doesn't mean anything to Colorado, but when these 2 teams get together, you just don't know. Then on the 14th, Buffalo is in Calgary, as we talked for a half hour with our guest Bill O'Brien, who we'd like to thank again for coming on and taking that time out while he was driving. They're going up against Calgary. Calgary has nothing to play for, but Buffalo does. And then that's at 9 o'clock. Then at 9:30, you got Georgia at Saskatchewan. The game means something there for Georgia. So Saskatchewan's playing twice this weekend. They're just going to want to try to play, not to get hurt. Georgia's going to want to win the game. I mean, so anything can really happen here. New England has off this week. they are not playing. They will rest up and look to get back on the winning track next week when they're in Rochester. But let's start with the games, Gary. Rochester at Toronto.
Rocco.
What?
New England's playing Colorado on
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay. It's been a long day.
So, Rochester, Toronto. Me personally, I haven't gone against them all year. I'm not going against them now.
Why should you?
I'm going with the Rock just because they need this game much, much more. And if they can't win in adversity, then heck, they don't deserve to go to the playoffs, to tell you the truth. So if they can't find the intestinal fortitude, the Greek root, so to speak,
right,
to pull it out, then, let the chips fall where they may, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll put it in Toronto for one more week.
Yeah, they haven't. Last few weeks, they really haven't shown much.
Yeah, they've been completely underwhelming, haven't they?
Yeah, and you don't know if Schreiber's back in the lineup yet. If he's going to be, activated or what have you. So I'm going with Rochester. What you said about Toronto really needing the game, Rochester needs it just as bad because they know that they lose the tiebreaker to Toronto. So a Rochester loss to Toronto would basically put Toronto ahead of Rochester.
Yeah.
Via the tiebreak. So Rochester.
If Buffalo loses I just lost my train of thought.
And New England wins, they're 8-8, but Buffalo holds that tiebreaker. Buffalo holds the tiebreaker over New England, but New England holds the tiebreaker over Rochester.
Yeah, Buffalo and Georgia lose this weekend, and everybody is at 8-8 in the East.
Yeah, and then it goes to like multi-tiebreakers and everything.
Oh, yeah, MIT Nassau starts hooking up links to the satellite.
Yeah.
It goes wild.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see that, to see where everything falls, but...
Same respect. I'd like to keep my brain, whatever's left of it.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, the same thing. You said Toronto really needs this game. Yeah, they do. They're 7-8. They don't want to drop to 7-9. Rochester really needs this because they don't want to drop to 8-8 because they know that they lose the tiebreaker to Toronto. So they want to try to stay where they're at. They want to get that extra game up on them.
Who are you going with?
I'm going Rochester.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, Toronto hasn't shown. I mean, if somebody was to tell me that Schreiber would be in the lineup, I would probably go that way only because of them playing at home and the team getting that spark with him being back in the lineup. Not saying that one man makes a team, but a player of his caliber coming back at home would give a big spark. So, without knowing whether or not he's in the lineup, I'm going Rochester, just because they have been clicking lately. Like I said, they started out 2-6, and they've won 6 out of their last 7.
All right, so we'll move on to the Saskatchewan-Vancouver game.
Do we really need to go through this one?
Not particularly, no. I got Saskatchewan in just because Vancouver's in audition mode.
Yeah, and the good thing on this game is you get to hear Jake Elliott do the play-by-play. So, Saskatchewan, there's no ifs, ands, or buts on that one. New England and Colorado.
Now, here's something interesting. I have New England to win.
Okay.
Only because, again, Colorado isn't playing for anything, and New England really needs this win.
Exactly.
And I think they had a character-building moment against Calgary.
Yes.
They came down from absolute adversity, where everything looked dire, and they still were able to come across. If there was ever a team bonding couple of quarters, I think we saw it.
Now,
there was no quit in that team.
No.
That team was nothing but quit for the last few games.
Yeah, and the thing is that they need to do this. They always have problems with Colorado, okay? And it's in the Loud House, okay? Yeah, Colorado does not need this game.
Oh, you might even see a deep fryer sighting.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yesterday was Steve Fryer's birthday, so happy birthday to him. Belated happy birthday, I should say. So who knows? Yeah, maybe Fryer will be, between the pipes, for this game. Give Dylan Ward a little, rest because, like we said, Colorado isn't playing for anything right now.
There's no reason to get him hurt either.
Right, none whatsoever. And we said this last week, Gary, that these are 2 games that New England should win because both the teams, Calgary last week and now Colorado, really aren't playing for anything. Calgary needed a whole lot of help just to possibly get second, and that ended last week before the game even happened. So these were two games that New England should win. I'm going New England also on this for solely that reason. But I think it's going to be another nail-biter like last week's was, because this is in the Loud House. This is in the Pepsi Center. I mean, Colorado is tough there. So, Colorado just ain't going to say, well, you know what, we really don't need the game here. You could beat us by 2-3 goals. No.
All right, so let's move on to the Buffalo-Calgary game. And as we talked with Thriller about it, they have a whole bunch of jump to it now.
Yep.
If they didn't already, because Buffalo has found their mojo.
Yes. They found their mojo, and, Gary, normally we say we don't want Buffalo to win, but I'd be afraid that
I'm cheer against Buffalo right now. My favorite player in the league is on there.
Yeah, and I'd be terrified to go against him right now because he might drive down I-81, get on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and hunt me down.
There you go. But simply put, Buffalo found their mojo. Calgary's playing for nothing. I would suggest that Calgary is. You might even see Siciliano in that. Who knows?
Yeah. So
I think they're playing to not get hurt and to keep themselves just in shape.
I'm going to go one further. I'm going to say O'Brien gets his first goal of the year.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
I want to see a goal celebration.
Definitely. All right, that brings us to Georgia and Saskatchewan. Now, this one's interesting because Georgia, in my opinion, was underwhelming last week against Toronto. But Saskatchewan is playing for absolutely nothing.
Yep.
I give it to Georgia, believe it or not.
Ooh.
That's correct. I said Georgia. Because they need this thing. Saskatchewan doesn't. And the Thompsons are still firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
So I'm not even sure if you might even see a Tyler Carlson sighting and have Evan Kirk on the bench counting to 5.
No, I think you'll see, if anything, you'll see a Tyler Carlson sighting against Vancouver. That's what I think. I'm going Saskatchewan for this one reason. Last year, Georgia beat them in 2 straight for the championship. Granted, Saskatchewan's not playing for anything. They don't want to lose at home.
No, but it's been done.
It's been done, and I just don't. I don't see it happening. I don't. I think Saskatchewan's going to win this. Granted, the Thompsons are on fire. They're starting to fire on all cylinders, and Jordan Hall's there, quarterback and everything, and things seem to be going right. But
and Poulin can easily steal a game for him.
Yeah, but this is in Saskatchewan. It is in that building that can move the earth.
The one that they call the Louder House?
Yeah, the Louder House, yes. Just because they're at home.
We're really thrilled with that, let me tell you.
Yeah. And like I said, I think they're going to put Carlson in against Vancouver. Give him that game. And then go with Evan Kirk against Georgia. This is going to be a game where they're not going to want to get hurt, but I don't think they're going to want to lose this game either, especially at home. So I'm going Saskatchewan in this, even though in my head I'm thinking Georgia to kind of make things interesting in the standings. So it could really go either way. So tomorrow night, Gary, for this week, I'll say Gary is going Toronto over Rochester. I'm going Rochester over Toronto, so we differ on that game. We both agree Saskatchewan over Vancouver, New England over Colorado, Buffalo over Calgary, and we differ on Georgia and Saskatchewan. I have Saskatchewan, Gary has Georgia. So all these games are Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow night, 7:30, Rochester at Toronto, 10:30, Saskatchewan at Vancouver. Then on Saturday, you got 3 games all starting within a half hour of each other. New England at Colorado, Buffalo at Calgary, both at 9 o'clock. And then Georgia at Saskatchewan at 9:30. So who knows what the standings are going to be like. Gary, like we said in the beginning of the show, the West is already settled. Saskatchewan's in first, Colorado second, Calgary is in third. Calgary will go to Colorado the first week of May for that single game elimination. The winner of that will play in Saskatchewan on Thursday, May 10th, 9:30 Eastern. That's the only thing that we know definite. Nobody in the East has clinched a spot. Nobody has been eliminated. Rochester, Buffalo, Georgia, all 8-7 going into this weekend. Then you have Toronto and New England, both at 7-8. So even if you're in first place at 8-7, the games that you're playing this weekend, it's going to be a playoff game basically, because you could drop from first to fifth again. So this is going to be going to the very end of the year. After this week, Gary, we have 2 more weeks to go. New England's in Rochester next week. Toronto's in Buffalo. So you got 2 big games right there. Calgary, Vancouver, and Calgary and Vancouver, and that's it. So there's only 3 games next weekend. 2 of them mean everything, basically. And then the following weekend, the final week of the season, Rochester's in Buffalo, Toronto, Colorado. That could mean something for Toronto there to clinch a spot to win. Calgary, Saskatchewan, then Georgia at New England. That game could decide whether Georgia or New England gets into the playoffs. So, the last couple weeks of the season, the regular season, is going to be very exciting. So that will do it for this week. Again, our heartfelt condolences go out to the community of Humboldt for the tragedy that happened last Friday. I wish you could just say something and everything will be all better. But Gary, you really said it well in the beginning. Everything. Everybody is behind them and is there for them. We've seen it come out in the Saskatchewan game in the beginning of the game for them, and then the chant that happened during the game, the "Let's Go Broncos" chant. So this is something that will, just doesn't affect the hockey community, it affects the lacrosse community and just everybody in general. I'd like to thank Bill O'Brien. Gary, between you and me, I didn't expect him to be on that long.
But thank you so much, Bill.
Yeah, I mean,
absolute pleasure, and my God, educational and a half.
Yes.
If you didn't know about the game or about the workout regimen or what it takes to do it and to stay in it, you would have learned a ton tonight.
Yes, and he's the type. You just subscribe to his page. Just look him up on Facebook. He's got his Thrill Nation page, and
you got Brian O'Thrill.
Thrill, yes.
We got Bill O'Brien as the athlete. Thrilla Nation. Thrilla96 for Instagram.
And you got
Bill _O'Brien96 for Twitter.
For Twitter, yeah. Follow him. You see what he goes through, his workouts and
Let alone the motivational messages.
Yes.
Because he's very big on motivational messages. It's great. Believe me, it keeps me inspired when I'm killing myself in the gym too.
Yeah. He's just a phenomenal guy. He really is. You see him on the floor, he wants to rip people's heads off, but at the end of the game, people who listen to the show, if you run into him, don't be afraid to approach him. He's intimidating out on the floor, but
he's the nicest guy, and he makes time for everybody.
Yes.
He truly takes the athlete role model to the utmost degree.
Yes, no matter how bad, if he would have lost the game by 14, 15 goals, he will still take the time out, and, he knows he is one of the players that understand what the fans mean to this game. Just can't thank him enough. I sent him a message last night asking if he had the time to come on. I thought it would be great for our 1-year anniversary of doing Behind the Bench, and for him to come on, just tell us about the USA lacrosse team, what's going on, and Gary, we mentioned about the ups and downs of being an NLL lacrosse player. You're on the team during training camp, then all of a sudden they, final cuts, you're one of the ones getting cut. That's obviously going to affect you. So what do? How do you overcome that? What does he do? He hits the gym. He goes harder. He does all his workouts, and like you said, he warms up for an hour, and he just pushes him, just pushes, and like you said, he got the call. Chugger called him. Steve Dietrich said, we have a spot open, but it's on our practice squad. If you don't mind being there and earning your way onto the active roster, we'd love to have you. And this is a man that drives 4.5 hours one way for a 2-hour practice. I don't know too many people that would do that. I really don't. Just to be on the practice squad. So he's driving 9 hours to practice for 2. When you think about it. But, that's what you got to do. And now with 2 more teams coming in, Gary, it should open up a lot of doors now to other players. And who knows? You may see Bill O'Brien here in Philadelphia. You might see him in Toronto. You don't know. So, Gary, are you still there?
I am here.
Oh, okay. So with that being said, that'll end the show for this week. Again, thanks to Bill O'Brien for coming on. We will see everybody here again next week for another episode. We'll see where the standings are at that point. They may even be tighter than ever, and as things dwindle down. So, Twitter game of the week is the Georgia-Saskatchewan game. You can see that free on Twitter. But tune in, watch all the games, get a feel for it. If you're in those cities, go support your team. If you're not that far away, take a little drive and go see the games. So for Gary Groove from laxphilly.com, I'm Rocco Granado from InLacrosseWeTrust.com. We thank everybody for listening, and we'll see everybody here again next week.